Welcome to Inside Sim Racing and a review of the Fanatec Clubsport Shifter SQ. And I have to admit, when they first told me they were sending this to me, I thought sequential just meant sequential shifter. But what it means is that it's not only a sequential, but a 7-speed shifter as well. So here to do a full review on it. Haven't installed it yet. As you can see, I've got it right here. Still in the packaging, which, by the way, very nicely packaged as usual from Fanatec. High gloss box, some really nice styrofoam packaging. Everything fits nice and tight in here. They also sent me the USB adapter. It's Fanatec Clubsport USB adapter. And this allows you to plug it directly into a USB port, so it's a standalone shifter. You don't need a Fanatec wheel to use it. Or they also have the cables for you to plug it into Fanatec wheels. Oh, all sorts of little goodies in here. I think these are mounting, a bunch of different mounting screws. So before I get started and before I get this thing mounted, I'm going to tell you guys about this shifter. And again, like I mentioned, it's a 7-speed plus reverse, so actually has 8 gears. Let's see if I can get this thing out of here. I'm sure I can because I've already had it out once, but I gotta say, this thing's pretty heavy too. This is not a lightweight shifter. All metal on the outside. Comes with an extra gear shift knob. So this is a sequential gear shift knob. And then it comes with the 7-speed gear shift knob. And that's it. That's everything that's in the box. And again, they sent me the extra USB adapter, and that goes for $19.95. So if you wanted to do standalone, you could do that. Now, if you wanted to use this with your Fanatec wheel, it is compatible with all Fanatec wheels. So the 911 series, the CSR, the CSR Elite. But the only wheel that you can plug it into and take advantage of all the gears is the Clubsport wheel. The other ones don't allow that. You can do 6 speeds with the other wheels plugged directly in, or with the USB adapter, you can do the 7 speeds as well. They also sell a Clubsport shifter table clamp for another $30, which I don't have. I'm going to, it's got M6 bolt mounts in here. And also there's some, if you can hear them, some pieces that I believe would allow me to mount it into some profile, but I'm going to look into that a little bit further. On the side here, there is a switch that allows you to go from sequential to 8-speed. And you got to make sure you don't have it in gear when you're doing that. And again, it's got the 2 Titan Gray shifter knobs. This is mainly meant for 7-speed shifting, and then this one's meant for sequential. I got to tell you, these are some quality shift knobs. Definitely like the feel of these. Nice weight. And then this lever, I'm going to go ahead and take this off, is also compatible with Automotive aftermarket shifters. So you can probably go to your local auto parts store and get, whatever shift ball you want. This thing's pretty beefy too, man. This thing's heavy. Man, I'll tell you what, if I took this thing off and threw it at somebody, it would do some damage. Anyway, what else? Shifter, this one in particular goes for $199.95. I believe US dollars or euro. The standalone non-sequential, they also make a 7-speed or 8-gear shifter that goes for $149.95. Cool feature about it really quick, you have to push down to get into reverse, so it stops you from going into reverse, and then you also have to push down to get into 7th speed. Another thing, and actually Thomas at Fanatec brought this to my attention. Normal gear shifters, if you go in your car and you have a manual stick, if you notice, if you push straight up, you're going to go into 3rd gear, push straight down, you're going to go into 4th, and this shifter's definitely made like that. And he had pointed that out because the old SST Lightning by SimGear was not that way. So standard shifters, like I said, if you push forward, you go into 3rd, push back, you go into 4th. And again, if you put it into sequential mode, which I will do here, and it's not easy to do. Actually, you're supposed to not have it in gear. That lever really takes some, oh, it's not even moving for me. Oh, there we go. Just had to give it a little moving there. It basically moves up and straight down. So let's see what else, some size and weight specs. Size, length, width, height, 18 centimeters by 18 centimeters by 35 centimeters. Weight is 2.4 kilograms. And like I said, I'd guess pound-wise, this thing probably weighs more than 5 pounds. This thing's pretty hefty. This is probably the heftiest standalone shifter I've ever seen or ever felt as far as, you know, for this price point. I believe like the TSW shifter might have been a little bit heavier. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm gonna get this thing mounted, put it through its paces. Probably gonna let Jason take it for a test drive too and get his opinion on it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Caster wouldn't necessarily do that either.
Okay, so as you can see, got everything installed and have personally done quite a bit of driving. I don't know if you saw my Project Cars show, did it in sequential mode. I drove the Ariel Atom at, I'm not gonna even say the track name because I already butchered it. Anyway, got Jason here with me. Jason, welcome to the show. And he drove it today, probably a couple hours.
Yeah.
Bunch of cars, drove it in H pattern mode and sequential, and I've done a ton of that now too in iRacing. You know, there's only a handful of road cars that allow you to drive the H pattern.
Yeah, we're doing a couple of thinking about what cars were available and especially in like iRacing and whatnot.
Yeah, Mazda Miata, Spec Racer Ford, the Mustang.
Right.
On the road side, and I think the Legends car, I didn't try the Legends. There's a new Legends Road series. I don't know if it's new, but.
Oh, the Legends car should be sequential though.
True.
You would think. It's a motorcycle engine.
Well, I drove a Legends car in real life, and I think it was sequential.
It was a pop. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember H pattern shifting. This was years ago. This is like way before we started the show.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, we both have had plenty of time with it. And I got it installed to my 80/20 real easily. Lots of different install points here. You can install it both on the side and on the bottom. And I use these, basically these nuts that slide up and down on the side to install with the supplied, I think these are M5 thread bolts. And it worked great.
Yeah.
Thing was
solid. Definitely.
moving my rig.
Yeah.
So it did a great job as far as, and they provided everything to install it, so that was really cool. Didn't need to install any drivers, and maybe you do to get more out of it, but I didn't because it basically acts as a button box.
Right.
So it was plug and play for me. Only used it on the PC. Only used it as a standalone with the USB adapter because I'm running a Thrustmaster wheel. So, and I know if you use a Fanatec wheel, actually I'll bring up that in the manual here. You have to calibrate it with the shifter in the wheel.
Really?
Yeah, to get it to work right. So it basically knows where every gear is and stuff like that. I didn't need to do that. And it mapped perfectly in game, Project Cars and iRacing, I would imagine it works and everything else. So I think we're just gonna get to some pros and cons.
All right.
So the first two pros, I said throws, because I just read throws on the thing here.
Yeah.
Solid positive shifts, and it's got a reverse lockout, so you have to push down to get it into reverse.
Right. Nice, cool feature. The other two would be, well, one was, it was really easy throw, easy to find the gears anyway. Even through fifth, because this has a seventh gear over there, and popping it up into fifth I never hit seventh, which was kind of cool.
That's actually one of my cons. And I can't even think of a 7-speed H-pattern car.
Maybe the real old school Lotuses or something.
But older you get,
they dropped gears.
Yeah, they're like 5 gears. So
right,
I think there was like 1 or 2 street cars that had a 7th speed. But that being said, it also has a 7th speed lockout. So you didn't even know this.
I did not.
You have to push down to get into 7th, and that's actually one of my cons. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, okay. That's why I never hit 7th.
Exactly.
Go figure.
Yeah.
And the other one would be a short throw. It does have a nice little tight throw in there.
So next couple pros, different options for installation. Like I mentioned when we first came on, you can side mount it, bottom mount it. You can also get an additional table clamp for $30, which allows you to mount this to the table clamp and then mount the table clamp. So we can mount it to this if we wanted to.
Oh, wow.
You can mount it to anything you want.
Right.
And then my next pro is you can side or bottom mount it. So again, lots of options as far as mounting goes.
Yeah, for sure. 2 different shift knobs. Comes with a couple of really tweaky little knobs. This one was sequential, and then
this is
you
the
got
H
your
pattern.
standard little H pattern knob.
Very nice, heavy.
Yeah, they're definitely quality. I would put this on my car. That's that quality.
So, and the pro also with that is that it's a sequential or a gated shifter. So you basically have 8 different gears, reverse plus 7 forward speeds.
Right.
Or you can put it into sequential mode with flip of a switch. And actually, I didn't even realize it's on both sides. And it's easier to switch it if you're using both switches. And actually, that was one of my cons, that if you're trying to move just one, it's a little stiff. But Jason pointed out that, and I don't know how I missed this, if you just use both of them.
They slide pretty easy.
It slides real easy. So I think I'll take that off the cons list because it's not really a con. So yeah, easy to get from sequential to 8-speed. And what's cool is when you put it in sequential mode, it's not using the 3rd and 4th gear. It actually gives you 2 different buttons. So when you're mapping it in game as a sequential shifter, it'll map 2 different buttons.
Just only buttons, exactly. For sure.
Another pro, this thing's beefy, man. And I think I mentioned this at the top of the show. This thing's heavy.
It is. And when I got here, I was really curious to see what goes on inside. So we pulled this sucker apart as well to check it out, to see if it was as beefy on the inside as it was on the out. And I'd have to say, for the most part, yeah.
We'll talk about in the cons.
Right. but yeah, it was a beefy box all the way around.
Yeah.
All right, so the next pro would be there's no need to install software when you're using it as standalone. You would need to still do it if you hooked it directly into your Fanatec wheel.
You say potato, I say potato.
Yeah.
And I actually had talked to Thomas at Fanatec years ago, and if you're wondering what the pronunciation is, it's supposed to be Fanatec. But you know what? I think the majority of people say Fanatec.
And you've corrected me multiple times. I've said it so long that it just keeps wanting to spit out Fanatec, and it's Fanatec. Fanatic. Oh my God! All right.
Boy, it is stuck on your brain.
It totally is. Anyway, also it comes with 2 different knobs, And the threading is for aftermarket knobs, so you can go out to your local
Auto
auto
parts.
parts store. You can pick those up and get different shifters. So you can also put this on. I was thinking of taking one of these off and throwing it on my car because
Yeah, maybe I'll put this on my Camaro.
I'm kind of liking that. Yeah,
They are pretty cool.
right. And they'll screw right in, so that's cool.
So the last couple pros is you can adjust the tension. There's an Allen 5mm Allen adjuster screw, bolt, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So just put an Allen wrench in there or hex key, whatever you want to call it, and you can adjust the tension. So that thing's
You could
actually
go too much.
we adjusted it too much, and we couldn't even sequentially shift it anymore. So
Yeah. We definitely had to loosen it back down for using the sequential because you wanted it to drop back out, after.
Exactly. Yeah, because it was like
It was stuck.
yeah, because it's sequential. You just want it to. Actually, we had it in gear.
We're back into
So yeah, in sequential mode, you want it to bang back down, and it wasn't doing that for us when we tightened it too much. But one of the pros is you got that adjustability, and that's really cool. And you got it so tight that you were saying the 7-speed was like
Yeah.
heavy duty.
Really heavy duty.
And the last couple pros looks cool. I think it looks it looks pretty sporty.
It's a sweet little box. It looks like it's trying to relieve a bunch of heat, because it's got the little air fins, the air cooler, but
Doesn't need that.
no.
Yeah, there's no air vents on this.
We've
but-
opened that puppy up. It doesn't need any air.
Yeah. But yeah, so it looks cool. And the Final Pro, compatible with all Fanatec wheels. So, if you wanted to use this on the Xbox 360 with your CSR or your GT2, it'll work with that. If you wanted to use it on the PS3, with your Clubsport wheel PS3, CSR Elite and the Clubsport work on the PS3. Or you wanted to plug it directly into your wheel on, and free up that extra USB port on the PC, you can do that too. So that's it for the pros. Now let's get to a fairly short list of cons.
Yeah.
There's really not much bad to say about this. And I actually already mentioned one. And if you're running a 7-speed H pattern, which, let us know in the comments here, what 7-speed, and I guess I could look it up, but
We'd rather have you.
yeah, help us out, because I know there's a lot of car fanatics that watch this show. What car uses a 7-speed H pattern shifter?
Right.
So
I have nothing off the top of my head.
I can't think of any.
No.
All right, so next con here, I'll even hand it to you.
Right. Yeah. These happy little. What? You got? Not even a foot? No, I think this is a foot. A foot.
That is a foot.
It is a 1-foot cord that's completely worthless.
And those are supposed to, I'm assuming, are supposed to be, well, I know this is to plug into the CSR wheel.
Right.
Or the Porsche wheels.
And however, okay, let's throw that sucker in there. Plug it into your wheel. Now, we have options or no options on where you want to put this sucker.
You would have to have your shifter that close to your wheel.
Yeah. Who does that?
That's pretty close. I mean, because I want to shift.
I want to shift in a real car. That's why I have a rig.
Well, think about this too. If you put this side by side, then the shifter's going to be up here.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, too short. And then even on
the long cord, which is it's barely long enough.
Plugged into the USB adapter.
Well, luckily you got an extra 6-7 inches on that.
Yeah, well, that's probably close to a foot, but still, you don't even have barely 6 feet if you're plugging this in standalone. Luckily, where my shifter was close to my PC, and it didn't. I was able to use this, but they need to provide a longer cable. Also,
I'm sorry, but I would not be able to use this on my rig because my PC is on the other side next to the wall, and my shifter's over there. So.
And this isn't. It looks like a standard phone plug, but I wouldn't.
I think that is a standard phone jack.
I think both of them are, but the wiring may be different.
Right.
Either way, you shouldn't have to go buy another cable for $200.
I would expect a good 20 foot of cable.
That's a little excessive.
It might be excessive, but
20 feet across the room. This room's not even 20 feet long.
I can roll it into a nice little spot behind me. At least that option's there to where I can go around my rig if I need to, stuff like that.
Well, and for the USB cable, the fact that this is an extra $30, this should be a 6-foot USB cable coming off of here.
Yeah.
So, and that's actually another one of the cons. You have to buy this additional adapter to make it USB compatible.
For the price, I think
It should come with it.
and I'm sorry because we have taken it apart. I know what approximately value of the parts are in there. Yeah, you should have hooked us up with some cables.
Yeah, so I think it should be compatible, or this should just come with it. I think that should be thrown in. You shouldn't have to pay an extra $30 for it.
Definitely. Besides, it has your name on it. It should automatically be included.
Yep. So why don't you talk about this con?
And that's just a little odd thing too, that we were looking, we thought it was initially from the actual shifter that it was, we were tightening it and it was like the knob that we thought was, until we started looking close and found that it was actually the post, and it goes all the way down inside. So
All the way down into the gate inside, so
has
what
that
we're
movement.
talking about, we got some close-up footage of it here. This whole thing just kind of shimmies back and forth about a half an inch. And it's not a huge con. I think for me it affected me more, and I wouldn't even say it affected me, it just kind of made me think about it when I was doing H-pattern shifter, but
It was there.
yeah, it
And
definitely should be added to the cons list.
Right. It wasn't expected, not by the quality of this. And then when I was shifting, and it was like weird. And I kept trying to reach over and tighten the knob because I was thinking that the knob was loose.
Coming loose.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I kept thinking that too. And I even originally said that it was the knob, and Jason's like, well, wait a second, the whole shaft's moving, dude.
Right.
So that is definitely a con. And then the final con, and I already mentioned this, is the 7-speed lockout. So if there is a 7-speed car that uses an H-pattern shifter, you actually
Have to push it down like you would in reverse in order to get it.
Yeah,
in
so
there.
going from 6th up to 7th, you have to push down, and I don't know why you would have to even do that, because, I mean, I guess to avoid going to 5th, but still.
Or from coming from 4th to go to 5th and you don't want to hit 7th, I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, that's a lot of extra movement that you have to really pay attention to shift it into 7th properly.
Yep, so any other pros and cons you can think of?
No, not off the top of my head. Otherwise, everything's good. I mean, it's a good little unit.
So let's talk about your final thoughts on this. You sat down, started driving, what were your initial thoughts?
It felt really close to a real car, especially when we tightened that sucker. It reminded me of, my dad has an 82 Firebird, and that thing has the strongest
Ka-tonk.
thing shifter. Yeah, it's incredibly strong, and it's a pain in the butt to get, and this mimicked that. I was like, oh, okay, I remember something this strength.
And that was at full tension. When you first sat
Yeah.
down, though, it was
good. I mean, it was nice and solid. Then we were messing around with it, and I think I tightened it up over from when I first sat down, to where it felt like the gates were just solid, and it popped right in and felt very positive every time you shifted it.
easy to find the gears, for sure.
Super easy.
Yeah, so, and I'm going to echo that. I gotta say, I love this shifter. This thing's badass.
Yeah, yeah.
It definitely does the job. I think I've read some issues that people have had with it, but we're not going to even talk about those, and I can't use that as a personal con because we haven't had, the only issue the main glaring con is this and the short cables and the fact that you have to buy this extra adapter. Other than that, this thing is a rock solid shifter, and I say that just because just going through the gears when you're using the H pattern, it is real easy to find the gears and not miss shift. I loved using the sequential shifter, just banging through the sequential gears. So with the cons being taken into account, our rev scale is now up to 5. We're going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And I'd say it definitely deserves that.
I would have even pushed it maybe to 5 if they would have hooked us up with the cables. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
little thing right there. Even with this, I would have still went, I could live with that because that is possibly, they might have needed that extra, bit of clearance inside there to make everything smooth.
I've never felt that on any of the other shifters, though.
I haven't even felt that on my G27, so that's not, and that's plastic, so.
Yeah. So, but other than that, great job, Fanatec. It's a cool shifter. We like it a lot. Actually, and I guess this could be a con depending on your rig. This thing is so heavy that you do need to have a pretty solid rig to mount this to.
Well, and yours is mounted seriously quite heavy, and we were shaking the rig with the tension, and even with the tension lightened, it was still bopping the rig around a little bit.
So I guess that could be a con depending on the setup you have.
That you have that positive a shift.
Yeah.
It could be a bad thing, I suppose.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, it didn't affect the score for me because
No.
again, it was easy for me to install and stuff and get it going. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. You can go to Fanatec.com if you want to check one out for yourself. Again, $200 or just under $200 for this particular version. If you wanted it, if you didn't want the sequential, which I highly recommend, it's $150. Then again, you're gonna have to buy adapters or stuff like that. And
although for $50 more, might as well get both, right?
I would say.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And Fanatec, you guys got to make some longer cables. That is definitely a con.
Yeah, we know they're not expensive. You guys, yeah, you fell flat on that because where are your PCs on your rigs and your, establishment?
Yeah, now if you were just plugging this into the wheel, it's fine. But I mean, I think that would give you.
Most people don't though.
Well, I think it would just give you just enough though. So anyway,
Right.
Gonna get along here. Check us out our website, isrtv.com. Matter of fact, on YouTube right now, you can click here on the screen and go right to our website. If you want to check us out, which I recommend. We've got cool forums there, lots of conversation going on. Daily blog, so we're covering all new sim racing news. Matter of fact, we just talked about Fanatec's new rim that just came out for the Clubsport wheel.
Yeah.
So check us out there. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. For Jason Dunnington, I'm Darren Ganji. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'll see you guys next time.